Leading off with the first course is Michael Cribb, chef at Boundary Restaurant in Nashville. He offers sautéed black grouper cheeks and mashed sweet potatoes. Then it's off to Memphis, where Chef Bjorklund cooks the entree at his classy Aubergine. It's roasted foie gras with onion confit and green apples. Dessert is offered by Minh Duong, pastry chef at the Monteleone Hotel in New Orleans. It is a soft center chocolate cake called Chocolate Renaissance with vanilla sauce. At taping time, one of the chefs at the Big Boundary Restaurant in Nashville was Michael Cribb. A native of Music City, he graduated with a graphic arts degree, then shifted to culinary arts. He worked in Virginia and on St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands. For a starter, he prepares hot grouper cheeks.
First step of this dish is to make the marinade. We want to get our pan hot. We add just a little oil for the sauteing. Then we're going to add the shallots, ginger, garlic. We want to cook that over medium-high heat until we start to brown. About 3 minutes on that. Once we get our ingredients sautéed, then we're going to add our coconut milk, which also has our Worcestershire and soy. We just want to bring this to a boil. What we're doing is we're releasing the flavors of the sautéed items, which allows you to be able to marinate at a less time, but still get all the flavor. Now we're going to add molasses, which is a nice sweetener. And all we want to do is bring this to a boil. Once we bring it to a boil, at that time we want to take it off. We're going to let it cool completely before you put the fish in. We're going to take the grouper cheeks after our marinade has now come to a complete cool, and we'll put them in the marinade. We're going to leave them in the marinade overnight. Now we're going to make the chow chow, which is going to go accompany the grouper cheeks. And in our bowl we're going to put our carrots, cucumber, pineapple. As you notice, I'm using vegetables and fruit. I like the combination. Garlic, diced red onion, cilantro. These are ground smoked Tennessee grown Scotch bonnet peppers, salt and pepper to taste. You can add more Scotch bonnets or you can add less, depending upon how much heat you can handle. Then we take apple cider vinegar, and then we're just going to pour it right over the top of everything else.
The vinegar was brought to a boil.
We want to mix everything together very well. And it's good to make this a day ahead of time. Now that we've marinated our cheeks overnight, and the grouper cheeks themselves, I use a black grouper because usually you can get the larger fish, and they actually cut the meat right out of the cheeks, right behind the head. And they're very interesting cut because they have a little more oil, which gives them more flavor, but at the same time, they're firm enough where they don't fall apart on you when you cook them. So we go from our marinade We're gonna put them in a little flour, season, salt and pepper, real basic. All right, back in the marinade. And then into the final process, final part of the breading, which I use a real fine flaked breadcrumb, coconut, a little bit of turmeric, salt and pepper, and just a touch of cinnamon.
The cheeks are sautéed in hot oil.
Okay? You don't want to move them around too much once you put them in, because you're just going to knock the breading off. You want to let it have time to set the breading on each side of the fish before you start moving it around.
Sauté about 45 seconds aside.
Once we get a golden brown, that's when we flip them over.
Presentation begins with mashed sweet potatoes, then the chow chow.
Then we'll lay the cheeks right on top of that. Okay. Then we'll add our vegetable slinkies.
These are shredded beets.
And we have a chili oil, a curry oil, and molasses. Garnish with a little pickled okra. And a Scotch bonnet. There you have it.
At Aubergine in Memphis, the provenance of the cooking is Provence. Chef Jean Bjorklund spent a good deal of his early career in the kitchens of French Michelin three-star restaurants. In fact, he still returns to France to recharge his culinary batteries. The entree is foie gras with onion confit.
First step is to cook the onions. I mince them fairly finely.
Actually, the chef is slicing them.
While the onions are mincing, have the pot, just a pan heating up to cook the onions in and the shallots.
The chef suggests that the onion confit be made 24 hours in advance.
Some shallots, also minced.
Onions, shallots, and crushed white peppercorns are started in butter.
As well as the bacon. Bacon is there for flavor. Also add the bay leaf and the thyme. Just roughly chop up a little bit. So we sweat the onions really well. So the onions take a little time to sweat for about 10 minutes, and it's better to do it over medium heat than high heat. So once the onions are well sweated, we add the sugar. Sugar is to sweeten, also to caramelize so the onions will caramelize. Stir it around. At this point, need to cook and caramelize. This process takes about 30 minutes. 30 minutes after we'd add the chicken stock. And bring it up to a boil, and once it comes to a boil, put a lid on it and just to let it simmer in the oven, in a 200-degree oven for 24 hours.
Now the chef deals with the Granny Smith apples.
You know, depending on your dexterity with your hands, you can turn the apples. Give them a little shape, which is what I'm going to do.
This is a classic French method of carving fruits or vegetables into a football shape.
You can use golden apples if you wish, if you don't like green apples. However, the bitterness and the tartness of the green apples really blends well with the sweetness of the onion and of the foie gras too.
The pieces will go into butter, water, and sugar that has been caramelized.
There. Okay. Caramel is being made. Right before it starts to turn its color is when I'm going to put the apples in. The apples do need to cook a little bit. Not too much, or else they'll turn to mush. They'll mush up, and then they won't keep their shape.
2 slices of foie gras are served.
And that is seasoned with salt and pepper, fairly heavily also. What I'm going to do is I'm going to flatten the foie out a little bit. Okay, so the apples are starting to caramelize.
The foie gras is dusted with flour.
Score the top of it with the back of a knife. Like this.
The foie gras goes into a very hot nonstick pan.
See, the pan is starting to smoke at this point. Put the foie gras in, the scored side down. And flip it over when it's lightly golden. And it goes in the oven for about a minute. It cooks very hot, very fast, since it's mainly all fat. Okay. While it's cooking, I'm going to put a little bit of we're going to start getting the plate ready. Put a little bit of onion confit in the middle of the plate. And then the caramelized Granny Smith apples. By that time, the foie should be cooked. You can tell just by pressing. It should be soft, but not resistant to the touch. And doesn't hurt to spoon a little bit of the grease on top. And then garnish it with a little bit of a coarse natural sea salt on the top. Doesn't hurt it. Gives it a little extra seasoning. And just a little green, I guess, for decoration.
The pastry chef at the Monteleone Hotel in the New Orleans French Quarter is Minh Duong. In addition to her restaurant and banquet duties, there is catering as well. Her elaborate wedding cakes are in great demand during New Orleans mating season. Here is a confection called Chocolate Renaissance, served with vanilla sauce. The chef begins the cake batter with 12 ounces of melted, unsalted butter.
Then I add 12-ounce dark sweet chocolate. Okay.
After thoroughly mixing, 7 ounces of all-purpose flour go in.
And 7 ounces of all-purpose flour. Then powdered sugar, 10 ounces.
Then 8 eggs.
That's it. I have some melt butter to coat the bowl.
The bowls are coated with cake flour. Fill 3/4 full and bake at 350 degrees for 20 to 30 minutes. The chef cuts and opens the cake, exposing a soft but not runny center.
You put the vanilla sauce on this.
This is creme anglaise flavored with brandy.
Some decoration.
Here's an example of some of the chef's artistic work with sugar.
And that's it.